My name's Julie Mustard, and I'm from Houston, Texas. Last week was the anniversary of the days when both of my parents passed away. My dad died in 2002 of lung cancer, and my mom died in 2007 of a heart attack. And it seems like it wasn't that long ago that I was growing up and just wondering like how long I would have my parents around. And my dad was significantly older than my mom. As a little girl, you think about when you get married and when your dad's going to be able to give you away. And so I remember thinking that and saying it to him when I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old. I'd just say, "Dad, when I get married." And I remember him saying, "If I'm still around." And I think from that point on, I started to have this place in my heart that I was kind of closed off to who God was as a dad, because I expected that my dad wouldn't be around for me. And so when he passed away, it was almost like the inevitable happened. It was like that's what I was waiting for my whole life, because it's what had been said, because he was older, and I didn't expect that he would have cancer and die, but when it happened, I was 19 years old, and just wondering who's going to fill the role as my dad. I felt like that dads were going to be there for a while, but then they were going to be gone, and that I had to be able to make it on my own, and that I couldn't trust that what he had for me was everlasting and eternal. And so this idea of God having an everlasting love was really hard for me, especially as somebody who had just lost their father. My mom, when she died a few years later, had the same feelings of this place in my heart that felt like it was just empty. And so I remember spending the year after my mom died just trying to process, what does this look like? And I just felt like I was alone, and I felt like I was an orphan. And I had worked at an orphanage, which is kind of ironic. And I sat there wondering, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what it's like to not have parents. And now I'm sitting here at 21 years old at the time, 22, thinking, I feel all of those things. I know exactly what that feels like. And thinking that that place in my heart could never be filled. And so when I finally decided that it was worth the risk to develop community, to have people who could invest in me and who could love me, I decided that I wanted to do that, but first God had to fill that place in my heart. I had to know that I was a dearly loved daughter. And that process wasn't easy, but what I came to find is that God has always met all of my needs, that He's always been there, and that He's never going to leave. Because in the darkest moments, in the times where I felt most alone, when I just turned my thoughts towards Him, when I turned to realize that He was always there, even in the midst of the pain and the hurt, those were the times where I felt just a spirit of adoption and the love of God come in a way that changed everything. And when the love of God comes in that way, when His love comes and transforms who you are on the inside, when He comes and ministers to the places of the deepest hurt because you open up those areas to Him, something happens to you, and you learn not only to receive love, but to give love. Because you know what extravagant love looks like, because the deepest parts of my heart were filled. I'm able to minister to the deepest parts of other people's hearts because of the love of God that's in me. And after I got to that place, it became easier for me to find people that could be surrogate parents, that could be spiritual parents. And I feel extremely blessed that now I have a spiritual mom and a spiritual dad who would die for me, that they would treat me like their kid.